So, Tobin, you've got some very special guests sitting next to you. Why don't you introduce them?
We do. We have a wonderful organization called Dive Warriors that's joining us today in studio, and we have Kyle Schneider, who's their vice president, and then a good friend of mine, Sean Copley, who worked with me at Frisbee Middle School for many years. And this is just a great organization, and I just want to introduce them and give them a chance to talk about what it is that they do and what Dive Warriors is all about. So, Kyle, I'll start with you if you want to share with us a little bit about your organization and what you do and how you guys got started and what this is all about.
Sure. Well, first of all, Tobin, Aaron, Todd, thank you guys for having us on. We really appreciate being here and being part of this radio show and definitely a part of this organization. So Dive Warriors is dedicated to taking out wheelchair, amputee, and PTSD disabled veterans and working with them therapeutically, with mentally, physically, and emotionally through scuba diving. And so this was started with just 6 people back in February, and today we are over 52 people. We just actually had a news show that just came up on NBC Channel 4 just this past weekend, and as soon as it aired, we have about 7 more people who are already requesting to be part of Dive Warriors, and then I think we got 2 more. One of them was in Ohio, and the other one was in Pennsylvania. So it was kind of a trip that it's even spreading that quickly all over the place. And along with Lacey Kendall doing My Awesome Empire for us, which is it's a podcast that goes nationwide as well. So I think that kind of helped out on that region.
Yeah, we run My Awesome Empire here on Kcaa and are big fans of Lacey.
Oh, she's awesome. She's great, and it was just a really fun interview.
Now, I've known Sean for years, and he's the first person who told me about Dive Warriors. And so, Sean, can you tell our listeners how you got involved and what this means to you and what you guys are doing?
Well, I've been involved with another organization before, learning how to scuba dive, and Dive Warriors just kind of sweep the situation here and just join in February. It's just great. I've never really got into diving until with Dive Warriors. It gave me a lot of help in taking care of myself. It gave me freedom. A lot of my friends and family don't know anything about my military background, the injuries I've received, the psychological PTSD. I don't really. It's so hard to kind of express it to anybody. Even my friends, I don't think even anyone really know that I am actually have something inside me. But Dive Warriors really got me going to where therapeutically, doctors gave me a lot of pills to take to kind of numb everything, and everything.
That's not helpful. You have to work through it.
Exactly. Shots. I've never really expressed that to anybody.
So instead of taking pills to deal with your issues, you go out with other people who've been through similar situations, you have a bonding experience, and then you get to face the challenges of actually going under the sea. And for me, that would be a great fear. And I'm a good swimmer, don't get me wrong, but the idea of being down there and being reliant on this machine to provide oxygen and, there's a lot of stuff I'm sure you go through in those moments.
Absolutely. And you know what? I actually have fear of water. I'm an Army veteran.
You're not a Navy veteran.
I'm not a Navy or a Coast Guard.
Well,
I'm Army.
I am a Navy veteran, and my biggest fear is drowning. But I love scuba diving, and I like the way that you put it. It was dealing with the challenges of going underneath the water. But for us, it's flipping the switch of being a challenge when you have all the commotion up here going on, when you have all the voices, you have the bills, you have the wives and the husbands, you have the friends, you have the car payments, you have all the BS that's going on up topside, that when your eyes are in that mask and goes underneath the water, it kind of it's like the rain. The water washes it away. It's the same thing with scuba diving, is when you go underneath the water, you get that serenity. Absolutely. And you get that feeling of calm that comes through you. And it's just you and your dive partner. You're back in the war zone. It's you and your battle buddy, and you guys are watching each other's backs. And and fortunate enough for me and my counterpart John Jackson, we're both instructors for Dive Warriors, and one of us takes the lead, the other one takes the back end, and we keep everyone in between us and We swim around. We look at everything. I would do a little lobster hunting, but at the same time, we're always looking in between and watching all those guys in between us, just to make sure that their safety is the number one priority at all times as well.
So, Kyle, walk us through the process a little bit of how do you get people involved, and once they say, "Hey, I want to do this," what do you do with them? How do you get them so they're ready to go out and do these dives?
So for the most part, the way that it's going to be done now is we're just wrapping up the rest of our paperwork right now to make sure that we cross all the T's and dot all the I's as far as the insurance is concerned. But these applications are all going to be spread out to Loma Linda, West LA, and Long Beach VA systems. And so if there's a disabled veteran who wants to get involved, we're just going to send them to their local VA system and fill out the application. And once I meet up with those resources, the physical therapists that are in charge of that situation, they'll bring the paperwork to me after they've done their vetting process. I know just recently, they had one guy who was ready on board. He's been waiting for a while out of Loma Linda that was ready to go, but the problem is he had epilepsy. That's just not something that our insurance could actually really cover. Everything is dependent variables of what you can and can't do. But for the most part, as long as they're a disabled veteran, they have their DD-214, they have their disability letter, they could come to divewarriors.org, they could go to their local VA, they could fill out an application there, and then they're going to reach out to me or John Jackson, and we're going to go there and we're going to go through the paperwork, make sure that we all sit down with the physical therapist and go through a vetting process just to make sure that we're all watching each other's backs. The VA doesn't want to be in trouble. We don't want to be in trouble. The scuba shop that we teach of, Scuba Schools of America, over in Montclair on Holt Boulevard, and it's perfect location point because West LA, Long Beach, and Loma Linda all could go there, and we have a 90-degree heated pool 365 days a year. And I tell you what, as a disabled veteran, keeping yourself to the point where you're in warm water versus the cold, you're actually able to get that real therapy that you need. A lot of people don't understand, and they think scuba diving is just a vacation sport, but it's not. It's a therapeutic sport. And when we talk about going to places like Bonaire, down in the Caribbean, or down to Cozumel, or over to Cabo San Lucas, it's people say, well, that sounds like a nice vacation, but they don't understand that it's not a vacation. It's us being able to take these vets down to warm waters, and even if they think it is a vacation, what does it even matter? Yeah. These guys have lost limbs. They're stuck in wheelchairs. They gave up so much for your country. What does it matter if they're going on?
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Have that 1
We're so
week
appreciative
off.
for your service.
Thank you very much.
It's everybody deserves a vacation. Why would anybody even question that?
Exactly.
It's just ridiculous. It was really cool you mentioned that you've gotten some people notifying you or making requests from around the country. Have you thought about anything in terms of trying to expand your program and bring on other instructors around the country to get more people involved?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I'm actually a certified commercial diver as well. I was living down in Louisiana doing underwater welding and construction down there for 3 years. And one of my buddies, his name is Andrew Dabrowski, and he's out of Jersey area or Maryland area, and he is also looking at becoming a scuba instructor. And then one of my other friends from the military, Aaron Wilson, he also just got back from Guantanamo Bay. He was military police down there, but he got certified while he was down there. But both of them are looking at teaming up and getting together in South Carolina and opening up an East Coast chapter. So
very cool.
It's one of those things that we're small
keep
but
it
mighty,
growing.
and we're trying to do everything we can. And that's the whole thing. Is when I was talking about people, saying, "Well, what are you doing taking these guys on a vacation?" And that's mostly coming down to when it comes time for fundraising and sponsorships. And it's like, well, you're not understanding that taking these guys in that warm water is a whole nother aspect versus being in that cold water. When you're in cold, it makes your joints hurt. It makes your muscles hurt.
East Coast makes that a little easier than here. How'd you get Kiefer Sutherland on your website?
So the gentleman who started this entire organization, his name is Brad Meerman, and he's actually a Hollywood screenwriter, director, and producer. And he's given up his career in order to fund this from his own pocket to get it started at the very beginning. And he was out diving one day, and one of the guys that was in the water with him kept pointing to the boat, and he didn't understand. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And next thing you know, the guy just latched onto him and grabbed onto his arm. So he figured that he would just tug him back to the boat. And when he tugged him back to the boat, the guy come up out of the water, and he was missing his legs. And he just didn't have the energy just to get back to the boat. And when he got up back on the boat, he had tears in his eyes, and he was just thanking him. And it was such a heartfelt thank you that Brad decided, this is what I want to do. This is what I need to do.
Wow.
You know, I've been blessed with a great life in Hollywood scene, but it's time to give back. And I always tell everybody, he's the Gary Sinise of the West Coast.
Wow.
You know,
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. He just gives up more, and and I love Gary Sinise. Every time he gets up on stage, the last thing he always says is, "You can never do enough for your vets," and it's a mic drop and walks away. Every
So
time.
I see a picture. I'm on your website, divewarriors.org, and on the website it shows a man being hoisted into the boat who's in a wheelchair. And so what kind of wheelchair bound, and perhaps, forgive me if I missed this, I heard you talk about the epileptic. What kind of a wheelchair bound person can go on versus not go on? Could you take a quadriplegic, paraplegic, what kind of vet can you take on your trips?
Well, we're actually trying to go through a process where we're getting certified to be able to take quadriplegics as well. The instructor that we train underneath, Rusty Berry over at Schools of America, he actually is certified to be able to do that himself. And we're raising money right now to put a lift in his pool, so that way it'll be a lot easier for us to train. But we're trying to go, John Jackson and I are both trying to go through the process of getting certified to be able to take quadriplegics with us as well. So there's not going to be anybody that we pretty much can't take for the most part.
Well, except the epileptic.
Except for the epileptic, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then Todd was asking about Kiefer Sutherland. Well, for the last 20 or 25 years, Brad Merriman's best friend is Kiefer Sutherland. And so when Brad started this, Kiefer started questioning him and asking him, what are you doing? What's going on here? And every time he calls him now, he's always asking, how are the vets doing? How are the dive warriors doing? And he finally said, hey, I want to get involved with this, and let me do a public service announcement for you guys. And he pulled out it was either $3,000 or $5,000 out of his own pocket and put it into it to helping us out as well.
Oh, that's great.
That is great.
So
Super
how do
cool.
people get involved? Where do they donate? How do they help support your mission?
Well, a couple of things you can do is number one, you go to our website, divewarriors.org.
Yep.
And just look at all our information in there. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It could be $1, it could be $5, $19.
But you'd sure like the 100 or the 500 or the 1900.
And then it can go up to 10,000 or more.
Well, the way
donate now buttons right on top.
Well, the way it works out is 22 veterans a day take their lives.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's one every 65 minutes. That's 8,000 a year. So
Oh, my God.
instead of talking about the problem, saying, should I help, should I not help, think about it this way. That $1, that $5, that $10, that $10,000, it's going to go to saving a life. That's exactly what all we're trying to do here is we're trying to save lives more than anything else. Yes, we want the therapeutic value to it, but when you have those demons inside you with the PTSD, when you have the phantom syndrome from missing an arm and you still feel your fingertips, when you don't have your legs to be walking on, when you're confined to a wheelchair, but when you get in that water, it levels the playing field and it makes you feel normal once again. You don't have the kids pointing at you and laughing at you. You don't have the people judging you. You're with a group of people who take you in, and we become a family, and we watch each other's backs, and that money is going towards saving lives as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's also, in addition to that, it's not just also therapeutic. It's also being around military guys again, girls as well. We have a lot of women that's on our team. It's just not just for males. It's just not just for female. Not just for someone that's lost a limb. A lot of people are having psychological, and they just need somewhere that they can just hang out and talk and share
With people who get it.
Absolutely, and it's yesterday we were on a dive, and it was a great experience. We were talking about each other's war stories.
I love to tell everybody that we put the fun in dysfunctional. We're kind of we're kind of that dysfunctional family that gets together and just talks about it. But the thing is, you don't talk to your wife, you don't talk to your husband, you don't talk to your boyfriend, girlfriend, kids, mom, dad. You don't talk to anybody. You can't talk to anybody who's never been there. But when you get on that boat, you're in the middle of the ocean. There's nobody else around you to hear your stories or to judge you. And you just get to open up and just let that go. It's more therapy than for just that one person. than you could possibly ever imagine. It's more than a shrink could ever do sitting down with them, because that shrink, more likely, unless they were a combat shrink, they don't get it. They weren't there. They have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much. One last time, because we're over time here, let people know how they can find out about Dive Warriors.
Okay, you could go, once again, you go to www.divewarriors.org, and there's different ways of donating. You could do the $19 a month, the $29 a month, the $39 a month, or you could do a one-time big fee. But either way, I promise you that 99% of that money goes back to the vets. We have nobody paid on staff, and I will make sure that these vets are getting taken care of in the proper way.
And don't forget the Facebook. We also have a Facebook page.
And Instagram.
But
don't just like them. Please donate to go along with it.
Exactly.
The likes are great, but the donations are better.
Yeah, the likes don't save lives.
Exactly.
Well, Kyle and Sean, thank you both for joining us this morning. This has really been great. Looking forward to hearing more about as your organization grows. Thank you
please
very
come
much.
back.
Yeah,
please. And I would love for you to come back with veterans. I know you all are both veterans, but with other veterans, and we'd love to hear those success stories.
Anytime, you just let us know. Aaron, Tobin, Todd, thank you guys very much for having us on this morning.
Thank you. So we are on the brink. We're just introduced again, so we are on the brink. The morning show here on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. We'll be right back.